My name is Philippe Parache. I am part of the National Cybersecurity Center, Competence Center, which is part from the Luxembourg House of Cybersecurity. So Luxembourg House of Cybersecurity is a public entity in Luxembourg, which has two departments, which is Circle, our CERT, and NC3, which is responsible for trainings, ecosystem enhancements and strategies for private companies and also municipalities. So within at the NC3 we do quite a lot, and one of those things is CyberRange, which I will get into. And before we begin, we would talk about why an open source CyberRange. So we have several CyberRanges available. There are companies from Estonia. There's even a French company which is here situated. And the reason for us as a public entity, it's easy. We would like to open source that piece of tech because it would allow SMEs and other companies and integrators to, for example, more cheaply offer these services, because if you know, CyberRange exercises are quite costly. Just the platforms itself, getting the hosting, etc. For an SME, it's it's not affordable. And nowadays, or in Luxembourg's case even, Luxembourg's economy is comprised of, I think, 60 to 70% of as SMEs, and imagine if they all couldn't afford proper cybersecurity. That's for a country like Luxembourg quite devastating. Hence, we are looking forward to provide in not only open source CyberRange, but also other open source tools. And why do we open source it? It's quite easy. Public money. 1 second. So, public money, public code. We are government funded, so taxpayers' money. So we believe that that taxpayers' money should contribute to the public, not only to the Luxembourgish public, but to anyone in our case. I skip the agenda. So, for those that don't know, what is a CyberRange? So, if we read out the phrase, it's a simulated, isolated environment where cybersecurity professionals practice attack and defense techniques, test tools, and train for real-world incidents without risk to production systems. And that summarizes quite well. However, for me, CyberRange is not only about deploying certain infrastructure or replicating existing infrastructure, it's also the tooling around that. For example, in my experience in creating CyberRange exercises, it is quite important to have certain user interfaces where you would have a certain scoring or just guidance in the scenario. Usually we create stories. Okay, you're company A. Company A is attacked by APT actor A, and then you would go through certain phases and etc. But what most people are mistakenly thinking is CyberRanges are very technical only, and that's not true. Whenever we did exercises or when we are building our current tool, we are thinking also to add strategic, let's say, possibilities for C-level people, legal people, communication people to be part of that exercise. Because in reality, when you are being attacked, it's not only the tech people managing the attack, it's everyone around or inside the company that has to manage those things. You have to communicate about it. You have to contact the stakeholders. How do you do it, etc. And with a CyberRange, that allows you to do that. But if we want to be and stick to technicalities, then it's easier to, for example, create a digital twin, okay? And then really test to what level is my current infrastructure or my current network secure. And that's possible using a cyber range, which facilitates creation of your current infrastructure. Or you simply would like to test your tool. So that's what we would call a cyber range. So, and what is the range 42? So range 42 is our approach from our experience we have gathered in creating such a tool for the public, for everyone to use. If you're a smaller company to an integrator, it doesn't matter. We try to do it as flexible as possible, meaning you're not bound to some licensing, etc. Not only is the code reproduced open source, but our idea is to use everything open source. That gives you the possibility to start from zero without any invest upfront. So, if we talk about the progress, the project exists since last year. We started out, okay. Until now, these numbers are not correct because a colleague of mine, which sits here just in front, has did some more commits. So I think we are around, I don't know, 560, maybe more, 600. So we have several repositories. Admittedly, it's quite difficult at start to know what's what. But nowadays, we are at the level that setup is quite easy for, let's say, people that come in contact for the first time with the project. We have also several toolings. We are talking about backend API, deployer UI, which are basically tools that allow you for easier deployment of any type of infrastructure you're thinking about. So, one of our current achievements is that we have a visual user interface that allows you to drag and drop certain machines and to deploy them, okay? You would configure them based on existing templates, or you just customize it as you wish. The goal of this user interface is to allow you to just visually build the infrastructure you want with any router, firewall, switch needed, with the network segregations needed to simply replicate or create an exercise of any type. Yes. So what's the benefit about our range compared to other ranges? So the biggest benefit is that it's free. As I told you before, cyber ranges are quite expensive to set up. Now, some of these companies have spent years of building tools. However, we just try to take our own experience with using different tools, with creating immersive exercises, and then just keep it simple. Huh? Also, private deployment is also interesting. Some of them offer it as SAS solution, which often if you create your own exercise and you have confidential components inside of it, I personally would not be necessarily happy to share them on their cloud, for example, especially if I'm trying to replicate my own network onto these systems. Then architecture at a glance. So we have a hypervisor layer. So it's using Proxmox that I told you. The idea is to go fully open source. This said, it is possible to, for example, deploy a Windows server. You just would need the proper licensing to be on the good side of things. For the automation layer, we use Ansible roles, quite heavily actually. Which is and guides, let's say, proper deployment of things. That we make sure we don't have big bash scripts all over the repository. For the control plane, so basically the part that allows you to deploy properly, that would be the backend API. So right now we would give you access to, let's say, an user interface that allows you to deploy, but if you'd like to have your own, it would be possible by just using the API available. Otherwise, we're using WebSockets to give you also some real-time feedback on the user interface. Then Wazoo for logs and monitoring, which is quite important during an exercise because you would like to know what's happening in my traffic, to have all the necessary information, because most of the time you're also a red teamer. So you created the exercise, you have participants which are blue team members, so the defense, and as a red teamer, you would then like to know, okay, where they are, how to score them, etc. But talking about scoring, it's still something work in progress, but we are also planning to have a scoring engine, which, depending on the rules we look at, allows us to check, okay, if machine A has certain thing deactivated, it would be plus or minus points, depending on the task and the goal of the exercise. But that is something we're working on. So here we look at simple at the logical components, respectively to the repository mapping. As I told you, the deploy user interface. Then we have the API gateway, which kind of sets the accesses straight. And then the deployer API, which is strictly directly connected to the Proxmox and allows you to deploy certain things. And yeah, then we have the playbooks and the catalogs. Playbooks and catalogs are, let's say, inventories that have already existing CVEs, ready to deploy, ready to test out. For example, recently I pushed a head scale role. If you would like to install head scale, make sure that the participant connects to it, or whatever use case you have. It's really so flexible that there is no intended way of usage almost. So yeah, if we will look at the setup, it's quite straightforward. You just run a Python script, okay? It guides you to the process. The only thing you need is a Proxmox server, okay? If you have a Proxmox server, then you will be able to deploy quite easily the range. It would deploy already the existing tools. So in that case, the deployer user interface and the API. And with that, you could start building your own infrastructure, okay? This set, it's a work-in-progress project, okay? We have not figured it out yet fully. There are some things we are working on, so don't expect a production product. This set, if you do not intend to use only the user interface, but you are technical enough, you're able to already do any type of deployments you want today. So I will show you some pictures about how our deployer user interface looks like. So as I told you before, you can do nice drag and drops. This is interesting for people that maybe have the technical theory, but are not fully warm in deploying and configuring fully themselves. So it allows for any SME or institution or whatever to just build the idea and then prepare an exercise as needed for the internal teams, etc. So basically, we have status management. So is my machine running? Yes or no? If not, I will run it. I can configure it, and then I will get the information, and I still have to apply these configurations. We are also planning to add an inventory browser. So since it's open source, what's cool about it is that we would like for any community to provide their inventory and then have a big inventory per organization where maybe someone did a specific exercise on some CV or some product, and allows for anyone to just add the Git link, repository link, and then anyone could use it. Or if you would like to have your internal inventory, you would be able to insert that repository and then drag and drop from there or deploy accordingly. But again, this is a work in progress. Currently, if you would use the user interface, you could import any existing machines running on the Proxmox, and then from there you would do whatever you would like to do, basically. So here you see a bit of pictures. We have prepared templates running on the Proxmox, which have certain core or RAM or disk sizes for you to just start out, but it's not a necessity to use it. We have also pre-deploy reconciliation. So let's say whatever you have drawn on the deployer, maybe there's a machine already running on the Proxmox, which you were not aware about. So you have to treat on the deployer, your project canvas is what you intend to have on the machine. But for some reasons, it could be that you have already a machine running, so you could just decide to keep it or to have it deleted by the deployer. Then on the right side, if a machine already is deployed, we will not redeploy it except there are changes to be made. Otherwise, it would just go and deploy the missing machines. This is approximately how it looks on the Proxmox. So on the left, down, you see the machines, the templates. That does not really work, okay. And then you see the deployed machines that already exist. We use tags, so tags help us out to just identify, okay, these are administrative machines which are really important to deploy further things or to manage an exercise, and then according to whatever machine you additionally want to deploy, you can call it attacker machine, defense machine, or blue or red team, as you wish. This is also possible to define via the deploy UI. Then recently we did a refactor of the backend API, which is also working, just as a small note. Not really important, but for you, if interested in that project, easier to collaborate with or to work with it or to contribute with it. So if we are talking about what's coming next, so what's coming next is that we are providing additional tools for the ease of running exercises. This could be a CTF, very simply, to live fire exercises, where you have several teams against each other, or just having the ability to replicate your own network, as stated before. And usually in such types of exercises, especially live fire exercises, teams have to do reporting. Sounds boring, I know, but it's an essential tool to also learn about mistakes or to find out what a blue team has done during an exercise, since they have to report about it, which will be also the case for some organizations in real life. And for this, we are working on a dedicated platform, which will then also pull certain information before and allow every team, and not only teams, but also the people that read those reports and evaluate them and assign points to them, because that's usually the case, to have an easier way to do it. Then we are also working on what we still call now exercise management platform. It's basically CTFD, but way more than that, because we are talking about a cyber range, not about only having capture the flags. So we would like to have certain accesses, certain informations displayed on that platform, such as scoring, for example, select the exercise, or just see what you have been assigned to, the tasks you have to do, etc. Yeah, that's the plan for now. Still a work in progress. So, what's today and what will come tomorrow? So, except the platforms I've already mentioned, what's operational today is basically the deployment. If you're not focusing on using the user interface today, everything is possible if you have the, let's say, technical knowledge in doing so. So whatever you would like to, you can deploy to some extent with the user interface. In the coming weeks, it will enhance way more. And we are always looking for contributors. If we talk about the development roadmap, we have certain axes, which currently we are working on basically axis 0 and 2. So 2 is everything end user interfaces, so to make the user experience interesting. And axis 0 is to basically stabilize what we have done last year, to refactor, to enhance it, to stabilize the project as such. And during the year, we plan to work on all the other axes as well, while some of them being parallel work, such as open source ecosystem. For the key repositories, we have 10 public repositories and some private. All the repositories that are important are online and ready to be used. I will not go through each repository and what it does because it would just explode scope. But I will go through some most important ones. And this is our GitHub, so please go on there and follow us because it's an interesting project. I might not present it very well now, but you should keep an eye on it. For the organizational overview of the repository, the main ones are the ones displayed here, which should be of your interest. One more is missing, which is the Range 42 repository, which includes the setup to install the tool on your Proxmox and to basically use it. It will set up from basically do the whole setup. There's nothing else to do except to just deploy the infrastructure you're interested in deploying. So here some lessons learned about during the year. Generally, when you work on such a project, you always end up being think, oh yeah, this is something we have to add and here and there. The scope is so big because it's not only about deploying machines, because that's easy, that already exists. It's about the toolings around that to make an exercise as it is also interesting for the participants, and about thinking all of that. That's not trivial work. Yeah, there's not more to say than that. Then open challenges and opportunities. So once again, it's a quite big scope. We are looking for contributors. Any type of expertise is welcome. We are not working for full-time workers on that, but just maybe people that have a second pair of eyes on some repositories, create some issues, maybe solve some issues even. It's an interesting project, could be used for you internally or even for your clients, so feel free to contribute. Yes. If you want to get involved, you can scan the code, follow us on GitHub, contact us via email, info@nc3.lu. And yes, that would be all from my side. I hope it was still interesting enough. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate. I also speak French, so if you would like to speak with me later on, feel free.
Yes, we can applaud him if you want. Thank you for this presentation. We have 5 minutes for questions if you want. On a donc quelques instants pour différentes questions si vous voulez.
Hello, thank you for your presentation. I was a little bit late, so I don't know if you mentioned that or not, but I want to ask a question about using your own Proxmox server. So there are a lot of people that wants to use Proxmox server, but they don't have the root access to Proxmox. So is it necessary to have access to everything as root in Proxmox to use this project? Or you can, like, the administration can create a user and then give it to the person who wants to use the project?
So ideally, you have the proper root access to do the setup. It would be possible to not do so, but it's something we have not experimented yet because, let's say it's an edge case. But if it's something you're trying to do internally and you contact us, we're happy to discuss and help and see what could be added to maybe kill that edge case so it's easier for everyone to deploy. So it's possible, but with more work on top of it.
Next. Ok, Philippe, on vous retrouve sur votre stand, c'est ça? Au niveau du pavillon Luxembourg?
C'est ça.
Merci encore. On peut bien sûr encore remercier Philippe Parage du LIC Luxembourg Education Corner.